Alright, welcome to Chapter 4, where I do a much better job of pounding myself in the dirt than anybody else could ever possibly even attempt to. I'll give you a rundown real quick. If you had missed the previous chapters, I'll give you a very, very short rundown. I was born to a woman. She was 18 years old when she had me. A man that was 25-ish, 26-ish. And my mother was not mother material. She was still out in her partying days, and my father was a heroin addict. 4 years later, after he left my mother, he contracted HIV from injecting heroin and hepatitis and all that good stuff, and died. I never talked to him. I never met him. My mom pawned me off to my grandmother, my great-grandmother. Very authoritarian parents. They did not let me do shit. So basically I was stuck in my room with the very, very small amount of toys and shit I had to do. So I threw myself into music, MTV, music videos, radio and whatnot. I did my fair share of being my own DJ and mixing cassette tapes off the radio. So you could say I was raised by music, and later on in life I was raised by the peers that weren't such a good idea for me to be rocking with. Now, moved out of my grandmother's house finally with my mom, my stepdad. My mom was a goddamn sociopath, a narcissistic personality disorder, possibly bipolar. I'm not a psychiatrist, these are just assumptions. Borderline personality, whatnot. It'll be covered in the other chapters, what happened in between these times. Here on chapter 4, I am talking about me and what it has done to me and how I came through it and whatnot. So like I said before, I was raised from the age of, I don't know, fucking 1, maybe 2, till the age of 11 or 12 by my great-grandmother, and I was in a fucking prison living with her. She was authoritarian. She didn't let me do shit, you know. She didn't let me do shit. She didn't like to let me go outside because of that. She didn't like for me to have friends. So that was like a feeling of being in prison. Once I moved out with my mother and my stepfather, things changed drastically for me in my childhood. I was around nothing but alcoholism, drugs, pills mostly. And nothing but fighting and turmoil in the household. I am not the only one that had to go through this. It was my sister as well, which is potentially why we were so close, yet so far. I spent my days living with my mother and my stepdad, just basically partying, staying the fuck away from that house. I had a group of friends that I went over to, and these group of friends weren't exactly friends. They were quite shallow. They were very unempathetic. I mean, when I would go over there, I would have a lot of problems at my house, and I would break down often, and I would even come and try to talk to these people, and like, they were supposed to be my friends, you know, and they were like, I just don't want to hear it. It's depressing. It's too negative. I don't even want to talk about it. But I needed somebody to talk to at that point. So these were kind of like shallow people, but I needed a place to get away from my home. So you know, these are the kind of situations I ended up in. So I spent most of my time partying and getting fucked up, and obviously that wasn't my only group of friends. I had plenty of other groups of friends that were either drug dealers or fucking doing this or doing that earlier on in life, and I ended up running around with the wrong crowd. Eventually I met this woman, and we ended up getting together. We moved out, we got into our own place, and our place was pretty much the party house. It's where we would just fucking hang out and party. That's basically what your first home is. That's the fucking the party crib. I remember nights where shit just got completely out of control, and it was absolute insanity. I was getting pretty bad into drugs on and off, and eventually I had just went pedal to the metal on opiates. That was my mother's drug of choice, my grandmother's, my aunt's, and that's what my biological father's was, opiates. and my stepfather OD'd on heroin. So opiates was kind of always the drug of choice of the family. It's a fairly heirloom, if you will. So I moved out with this woman, and then we ended up getting together, and she wasn't supposed to have kids. She told me she went to the doctor. The doctor told me that she would never be able to have kids. 5 years of us going at it straight up, no protection, whatnot, no birth control, nothing. And then after one day, just pops up, she's pregnant. I'm like, all right, okay, this is a fucking bad idea. We are broke. We don't have the money. We are not stable. I don't have a good job. You don't have a good job. We're not making enough money. Let's not do this. This is a fucking bad idea. I am against abortion. I don't feel like it's. I'm against abortion in the way that it's like that's kind of grotesque the way they go about it. It's like, ugh. But I'm not against abortion in the way that we live in a real world. We have to look at reality, and we have to say, all right, is it a good idea or a bad idea here to do this? You know, I mean, a woman could always have the baby and then decide she didn't want to keep it and give it up for adoption, and she won't have to pay child support or anything like that. She can just give it away. You know, a father, you know, we're kind of here, and we all of a sudden we owe money to our Miss Independence. You know, they claim independence, they claim they don't need no man. Now, you know, just to clarify, I'm very happy that we have our kids now, but at the time it was a fucking horrible idea. Horrible. I was a good father. I took care of my kids. There were times I went to prison. I did go to prison. I had a lot of mental issues growing up. I had a drug addiction. So there were times that I was not able to be there for them the way I needed to be. And in between the time of me moving out on my mother's and me going to prison, there was a lot of heinous shit in between. And again, these are things that I don't want to talk about on YouTube, so I will put an uncut version of my Patreon like I did about my molester. Now, basically what I'll do is I'll break down all the heinous shit that I did and all the fucked up mistakes that I made, and kind of break it down to you and show you how much of a piece of shit I really was. Once I got out of prison, I made that phone call to my ex, and I said, listen, I'm out, feeling great, I've been working out, feeling fit, things are good, I got good plans ahead. And she just said to me, no. All of a sudden she found another man, and that's what it was. And I was like, kind of pissed off, because it was like, damn, you're gonna leave me high and dry. I don't even got a fucking place to go. Now I gotta go back to my psycho mom's and deal with her bullshit. I mean, now in hindsight 2020, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. God knows where I'd be right now had I still been with her. I mean, we were in a relationship that was not mutual whatsoever. We weren't exactly a match, and it's not a relationship I wanted to be in at all. And after, you know, all the things that we went through, I'm sure it wasn't a relationship she wanted to be in. But luckily, it did not come back together, and thankfully, because I found a great woman, a great wife that is supportive of me, that cares, that loves me, and helps me through the things that I go through, whether it had been relapse, whether it had been anything. She was there to help, not condemn me for it. And that's what we need as addicts and people that are going through things. And so it went. So I went back to my mother's house. I got into a disastrous relationship with a younger girl, and because she was of the younger age, she was probably in her 20s, early 20s, she was into the bullshit too. So I had gotten into all kinds of issues with her. I had gotten arrested, I got jumped, somebody got stabbed, I went to jail right after getting out of prison. I got out, came back to my mom's, and I got a phone call from my ex saying, hey, listen, there's a lot of shit that I got to do, you know. I'm trying out this new thing with this business, with this transport business, and I need somebody to watch the kids. I don't want to have to pay for it. We want to come down and do it. I was like, fuck yeah, you kidding me? I get to be with my kids every day and get the fuck away from my mom's house? Are you kidding me? Absolutely, let's do this. So I get down there, and she was okay. I picked up a web design job. I was making a little bit of money. That was a little bit short-lived, unfortunately. As time went on, I was out talking to my son, sitting on the stair steps in this apartment complex. There were some boys outside playing. My son's like me. He's a recluse. He's not very sociable, usually. I was like, Miles, why don't you go over there and talk to those boys and tell them that you're new around here or whatever, and say, nice to meet you guys, you know, what, this and that, whatnot. I can't remember exactly verbatim what I said, but he was like, alright, fuck it, and he went over there to talk to them, and he made friends with them, which was cool. Eventually, they wanted to stay the night at their house, and I had to meet their mother, or their parents rather, at this point, and come to find out it was a single mom. So I had met, eventually I had crossed paths and met with their mothers, and they said, hey, this is my mom, this is Miles and Cicely's dad. I said, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I actually stumbled in some of my words because she was so gorgeous. She was absolutely beautiful woman. We started talking, and I laid everything out for her. I told her everything about my past. I told her I was a drug addict. I told her I had been to prison. You know, I told her all those things, but I told her also, you know, things are changing for me. I want to be a better man, you know. So I told her everything about me because I thought she was beautiful. I thought she was a good woman. I thought she seemed like a very nice woman, a very caring, understanding person. And I was right. Eventually, we started hanging out more, and we got together.